Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast. This is episode 389. Make sure you click subscribe right now so you'll never miss a journey. I post one episode each week and each guest has a fascinating story to tell. Joining us today is Stout. Kyle is the founder of Elevate and Scale, a leading email marketing agency that helps direct-to-consumer brands unlock hidden revenue and put their sales on autopilot while spending $0 in extra ad spend. Hello, Kyle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. My audience are excited to hear your story. Just start by telling us one thing we are going to learn from you today.
Okay, well, probably what we're going to end up talking about the most is email marketing and really how to get the most value out of your email list and how to increase your sales from what can be the most consistent and reliable sales channel that a business has.
Wow, I can't wait to hear more about that. Let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I started out as a freelance copywriter, and I was really just, writing a lot of copy for businesses, websites, and, doing blogs. This is back when blogging was a lot bigger. And, I started doing some email marketing, writing some ad copy, things like that. And over time, I found that email marketing was the area where I was seeing the best results for my clients, and it was something I just really enjoyed. So fast forward a few years, I started an agency, and I knew that I really wanted to specialize in email marketing because I had tried in the past to try to offer all the different marketing services at once, and I found that it's almost impossible to be great at everything. So I decided to just hone in on what I knew and what I was really good at, and so we've been doing that ever since.
Wow, what a background, Kyle! But why do you do what you do?
Well, I was interested in marketing from a young age. I was always just interested in human psychology and, why people would respond to certain ads or certain messaging from brands versus others. So it was just something that it was always kind of in the back of my mind. I studied marketing in high school and college. But really, I was very interested in online business. I was aware of it pretty early on, and I wanted to find a way to get into it. And so, just kind of one thing led to another, and to where I ended up just, specializing in email marketing. But, really, I enjoy working with business owners and helping them grow their businesses and, helping them achieve their dreams of what they're trying to accomplish with their businesses, which, and working with them helps me achieve what I want to do with my business. So, I really enjoy the whole aspect of online entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
Well, I would say because of the results I get for my clients. So typically, I work a lot with e-commerce businesses, and there's one of the metrics that people would use to gauge success for email marketing is they look at how much of the total revenue is attributed to your email marketing, and the benchmark is usually around 25 to 30% is considered really good. And most of our clients are averaging between 30 to 50% plus of their total revenue attributed to Klaviyo. So, over time, it's just like at first I wasn't really sure how good I was doing. And then, you keep seeing patterns where like, okay, it really seems like these things keep working over and over. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't like to, try to toot my own horn or anything, but I do put a lot of, thought and effort and care into the work that we do for our clients.
Wow. What do you think you're doing different than other brands?
Well, part of it, I mean, there's a few things. So with anything, like any kind of marketing service, there are the kind of what people call the best practice things. So there are certain, templates of what kind of email automations can you use and how to frame an email and all of this kind of stuff. And I would consider that a starting point. But really, as you go along and you're really in this all day, every day, you start to build your own strategies that go beyond those best practices. So that's one thing, is to just have a lot of internal strategies where I train my team on things that I've learned over the years, just working with all different types of businesses. And I like to borrow tactics and strategies from different industries and then use them in other industries where it might not, or people might not logically make the connection. So for example, years ago, I was working with a real estate developer, and I took this strategy that I saw YouTubers using to launch apparel to their audiences. And I kind of took a similar approach with how we were releasing these new homes that they were building. So things like that. And then the other aspect I would say is, I really take the time to get to know my clients' businesses. And like I said, I do care. So, there's just a lot of times when I'm spending almost too much time in other people's accounts, just because I want to see it done right. So there are lots of other great services and people out there, but having hired a lot of services, myself, I have seen that that's not the normal thing where people really care intimately about each client that they're working with.
And what do you think people don't care?
There's probably a lot of reasons. I think part of it is, maybe they're just overwhelmed, maybe they've just got too much on their plate and they just can't dedicate the time, or, maybe it's preferential thing. We all are going to be a little biased. If we have a client that's paying us way more than some other client, of course, that person's paying to have more attention and care from you, things like that. But, there's just different levels. It's just different people out there. No matter what field you're in, we've all encountered people that they're just not quite as conscious as, of other people in anything they do.
Wow. Someone is out there listening to our conversation and they want to really start in this industry. What would be one advice would you give them?
Well, so the first thing, if you have no experience at all, then what I would do is I would just create some samples, because you're going to need to have some work to show to get those initial clients. Getting those initial clients is the hardest part, because you got to have some way to convince them to trust you. And if you don't have any kind of, case studies or samples to give them, then you're just relying on good salesmanship, which that can work, but it will be a little harder. So what I would say is think of the type of businesses that you would like to work with, and then create some sample emails for these businesses. So these could be businesses that you totally make up, or it could be that you go find brands and companies that you would really like to work with and then make samples for them, actually using their logos and their products and everything. And on one hand, you could then go pitch those companies with those samples and say, hey, I created these for you, and try to get their attention. But really, it's more about just having this portfolio, so that way when you do start reaching out to people, or if you join a freelancer website like Upwork is a place that a lot of people will get started. There's different boards and platforms online for that. You'll have something to show people, and it'll make it a little easier to get those initial clients.
Thank you. And then I thought you also mentioned them that they will need to start building the foundation of caring.
Well, I feel like that's one of those things that's innate in who they are. So, I say that because I have found that to make a difference for me personally. But, to be fair, I don't think it's a 100% a requirement. I mean, some people are just, really, really good, and they may not really care about the people that they are working with, but they can still get them great results. So, I think that's more for, just life in general. Yeah, I think it's better to just be more empathetic, treat people well, treat people with respect. I think you're gonna do better in life, not just in business, but probably have a lot better relationships with people.
Tell us, how can brands create emails your customers want to receive?
Yeah, well, this is funny, kind of a segue into what we were just talking about. It really does come down to understanding your ideal customers. So a lot of times, business owners, they're so caught up in the day-to-day of running their business, and they're very, very familiar with their products, that they forget what it's like to be the person who's not familiar with their products. And so sometimes it's a product that just requires a little bit more education. But in any kind of marketing task, whatever you're doing at a strategic level, if you're creating a new website, whatever, you have to do this initial work of researching your ideal customers and identifying their pain points, their aspirations, the challenges, goals, all of those things that really drive the purchasing decision. Because without that information, it's going to be hard to create content in any form that really resonates with them. So once you've done that initial work, then you can use those topics for marketing angles for your emails. So for example, let's just say you sell jewelry, and one of the pain points of your customers is struggling to choose which jewelry fits their personal style. You can have an email that gives tips on developing their personal style or shows them how to customize their jewelry or wear it in a certain way to match their personal style. And then you can link to the products that are relevant to that topic in that email. So in this way, the email is fun and interesting. And even if they aren't ready to buy today, it's still relevant information for them. So it keeps them engaged with the emails. And then the people who are ready to buy today, if this is something that's, an important topic matter for them, it's going to make the buying decision even easier. So then over time, you're just using these different topics. And then whenever you hit the ones that really resonate with different people in your audience, you're going to pull those buyers out. And over time, it just shows them that you are very knowledgeable on them and that you really care and understand them. And that just makes people like your brand more.
Tell my audience the top 3 mistakes entrepreneurs are making with their email marketing that are costing them thousands. Wow.
The first one is relying too much on discounts. So there's a lot of people, I think, that they have the attitude that emails are annoying, and if I'm going to send my list an email, it needs to be something really good because I don't want to bother them. And then that's kind of the default thing for a lot of people is to just like, well, we got to include a discount. And the problem with that is that you train your list to only buy when there is a discount, and then that just eats into your margins. So, of course, having the holiday sale and things like, the occasional promotion. I mean, that's great. It's fun for your customers. It's a great way to stir up a bunch of sales activity, and to take advantage of seasonal things, big seasonal promotions, of course. But you don't want to get to where you're doing that in every single email. And that's where it comes back to. You really want to rely more on the content to drive the sales without having to always discount. And then you'll be able to actually make more from your email marketing. So that's the first one. The second one is not figuring out the right email frequency for your business, because what works for some other business is not necessarily what's right for you. So, the first thing that probably comes to mind is that we think of businesses that are emailing their list way too much. And we know whenever we've been on the receiving end of that. And that is common. But what I would say is I actually see a lot of times, surprisingly, a lot of businesses that don't email their list near enough. Like they actually have a good sized list. The list is engaged, but they might only send an email once a month, if that, and they're just not even tapping into the potential from their email list. And so what you can do, if this is you, if you're on one end of the spectrum or the other, and you just want to figure out, okay, what is the right sending cadence for my business? Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? What is it? I would say first, just start with where you're at. Let's assuming that you're on the end of not emailing very often. And then just increase the frequency a little bit. So go from once a month to once a week or once every other week, something like that. And then do that, for a month or two, then increase it a little bit more and do that for a month. And once you hit a point where you hit a frequency where the open rates and the click rates dramatically fall, then okay, I've hit the limit. And if you're on the other end where you have been emailing too frequently and you already have seen your open and click rates fall pretty dramatically, now it's time to dial it back a little bit and see if you can get those back up. And then finally, the last big mistake, this one's not as crucial. It just depends on the situation your business is in. But if you are an established business and you've been doing email marketing for a while, you want to get to where you're not sending every email to everyone on your list. You want to start to use segmentation. And what that means is just creating different groups of people within your list that could be segmented by how engaged they are, or products they've viewed recently, or products they've purchased in the past. And by doing that, that allows you to craft the content specifically for those groups. So now the email is more interesting to them, but this also allows you to be able to send more emails, but without annoying people, because you're not sending every email to everyone on the list.
Thank you. Tell my audience about the magic moment, the day it suddenly all went right for you.
Well, what comes to mind for that is with that example I mentioned earlier, I was working with this real estate developer and I had done a bunch of client work up to this point, but this was a very difficult project. So a lot of times the, businesses I was working with in the past, I would say they were somewhere between early stage startup that at least had a tiny bit of traction. They weren't just totally starting from scratch, assuming we were doing email marketing. And, maybe they already had some good traction going. But in this particular case, this business, the real estate developer had recently acquired a couple of developments that had completely failed. They had no momentum at all as far as they weren't generating any sales. They weren't even getting people to go tour those properties. And these were vacation homes in other countries. So this is not an easy sell by any means. And so I started, I had no experience with this, but I started implementing the strategies that I had seen worked with all kinds of other businesses and a lot of online businesses. And when all of a sudden we did this strategy where, like I mentioned earlier, we're just, starting to kind of slowly release and tease these new properties instead of just making them all available at once. And we were using email marketing to drive this whole thing. We booked out the sales calendar and they ended up closing millions of dollars in new home purchases under contract. And so that was a big light bulb moment for me because I thought, well, okay, I just solved a really big problem that I've never solved before. This is interesting. I want to see, taking what I've learned from this now, I want to see how this could apply to other businesses. And that's really what led me to then start my agency.
As you mentioned that you've been in this business for a long time, you have met aspiring entrepreneurs and also entrepreneurs along the way. But can anyone be entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
I think some people do have advantages they're born with because entrepreneurship is very difficult. It's very stressful. Mentally, there's just a lot of challenges you go through that you might not expect. So, sometimes it can be very lonely if you are a solopreneur and you're really doing this on your own. And whenever you're an employee, you might not realize that you think your job is really stressful and hard, but you don't realize as the employee that all of the problems in the company, whenever people can't solve them, they keep going up the chain until they finally get to the CEO or the owner. And that person is dealing with the worst problems that no one else could figure out, right? And when you're a solopreneur, that's you now. Or when you're a business owner, even if you have other partners, that all comes down to you. So I think that there are definitely certain people have a way of thinking and an attitude that gives them an advantage. But I also think right now, with all the opportunities online, all of the resources available today, that anyone can do it if they're willing to put in the work, if they're willing to dedicate the time it takes to learn the skills they need, if they are, willing to endure some of the stresses and some of the other things like that, there's opportunities for everyone now, which is amazing.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
Oh, well, I've learned a lot. So it's kind of cliche, honestly, but a lot of the things people say are true. And I think sometimes you have to actually experience them yourself to actually, find out how true they are. But, in business, it really is what you put in is what you get out. A lot of times the luck that happens is just the result of being very consistent, being dedicated, working hard, and then opportunities seem to find you. They seem to be, you seem to just find them more often. I would say one of the things I've learned is about the importance of relationships, and that a lot of times people are thinking in the short term, or they're thinking very transactional of, what do I get and what do I give and all of that, instead of thinking about trying to have a good long-term relationship with everyone they do business with, whether that's employees or partners or clients, whatever the case is. I have found that the more I prioritize that, the better everything works out for everyone. But it also just makes me a little bit more picky about, who are the people I want to work with, because there have been times in the past where, let's just say I had clients that I didn't really like working with them. I didn't like, I didn't really like the working relationship, how they treated me, but they paid me a lot of money. And, I just wouldn't put up with that anymore. It's just not worth the extra money to deal with people like that. So I would say, that's been a big one, is just really putting value on the relationships and the quality of people you work with, and how that can play out in positive ways.
Where do you see the email marketing future as we are now going into the age of AI?
Well, what I am predicting now, I don't think this is happening anytime soon, but I would say in the next 10, 20 years, I think with the data that all of these tech companies have today, and then just looking at how quickly AI is advancing, what I think we're going to see is email marketing that's truly personalized down to the individual. So right now in email marketing, we're always trying to personalize things. We're always trying to, add of course, you add the person's name in the email or the subject line or whatever. But we take it further of creating segments and try to craft the content for these different groups of people. But those segments still have hundreds or thousands of people in them. And then you can even do things right now where you have dynamic content in the email where, people who have bought this product are going to see a piece of the email that promotes a different product, but people who have already bought that product, they won't see that in the email, things like that. But what I think it's going to get to is where you, the business owner, are going to be able to tell your email service provider or whatever technology you're using that, okay, I want to send an email promoting this particular product or service. Maybe I want the main topic to be about this. And then it will craft the email for each individual, speaking only about the things that it knows they really care about, because it's going to know all of their web history. It's going to know everything they've been consuming online, whether it's on websites, on social media. It's going to know their entire purchase history of where they've been shopping online. And it's going to be able to craft a message and even the design and everything in a way that it resonates with them the most. That's what I think we will get to, but I don't see anything like that yet. But it just seems like it's possible even with the tools we have now.
Thank you. What grounds you?
My family, for sure. I've got a wife and 2 little girls, and any moment that I'm not working, I just want to hang out with them. And one thing about entrepreneurship, we're talking earlier about how sometimes it can be stressful and mentally taxing, and that's another thing I've had to learn is how to be able to just shut it off and how to turn off the notifications and take a break and really be in the moment with my family and enjoy that quality time, because that's time that I'll never get back. And that's really what is most important to me in the first place.
Do you have a mentor or a coach in your business?
I have had a lot of mentors over the years. I've had some really cool mentors, starting from whenever I was young. One of the first entrepreneur I ever worked with, I've worked with several entrepreneurs throughout my youth where I learned lessons I still use to this day. One of my favorite mentors has had a big impact on me professionally in the last 5 years was Frank Kern. And he really took me from understanding a lot of the strategies of email marketing and marketing in general. And he has such a great way of simplifying all of these concepts and making them very actionable to where you can really put them to use and not have to worry so much about, is this the right way to do it or is this the wrong way to do it? And it's more like, if you just work within this framework, you can pretty much try anything, as long as it makes sense for the business or whatever it is that you're working on. And that really helped me, and the strategies that he gave me are really a lot of what's baked into what I do today.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Well, there's a lot of things. Let's see. I could go in so many directions because there's the mentors that have helped. I've always been an avid learner, and I'm someone that likes to learn just for fun. I like to get better. And I think there's a lot of times, especially in high school and college, I was kind of a daydreamer where I wasn't paying attention in class, and all I was thinking about was, starting businesses and different things. And there were times in college when I should have been studying, but instead I was spending hours online researching random things. And I think that actually helped me a lot, because when I started creating businesses, it was just never even a question of being able to find out how to do it, because I didn't wait on someone else to give me the answers. Everything is already out there. It's on Google and YouTube and everywhere else. And even to this day, there are things where I run into new problems constantly, whether it's some random tech problem I've never seen before, but this client's business, for some reason, they have all these weird tech issues. And so, you would think that I had seen it all at this point, but no, not at all. Here I am on YouTube trying to figure it out and just, do it myself. So, yeah, I think that attitude has really helped. And just my natural interest in learning is, a lot of people just don't like to read or they don't like to learn. And so it's more painful for them to do that. And so for me, it was always something that was kind of fun. So I think that's given me an advantage.
Thank you. Let's talk about your business and how can we join you?
Yeah, so we do email marketing for online businesses, or really I would say businesses that are selling their products and services online. So not just online businesses in terms of selling info products or anything like that. We primarily work with e-commerce businesses, and we really we go beyond email marketing and focus on retention marketing as a whole. So we're doing email marketing, SMS, we create rewards programs, things like that. So we're really looking at, okay, how can we help you retain more of your customers, get more repeat purchases from your customers, and drive up the lifetime value of your customers, which allows you to then get a better ROI on everything you're doing to bring those customers in the first place, whether that's social media or podcasting or running ads, whatever the case is. That's the section of the business that we are focused on the most. And yeah, if you want to get in touch, our website is elevateandscale.com. And I'm putting out, most of my focus for content that I'm putting out is on YouTube, and the channel is Elevate and Scale.
Thank you. There will be more from Kyle in a moment. If you are encouraged by Kyle's journey, please go to my website at onlinesuccessjourney.com,
where you will find more amazing free content. Are you struggling to achieve one or more of your major goals? Do things like fear, confusion, and overwhelm get in the way? Then maybe I can help. I work with clients to support them get unstuck and make massive leaps forward to create their dream life. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com/coaching and let's chat on Zoom to see if we are the right fit for each other. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com/coaching.
Now, Kyle, I would love for you to share more with my audience.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank you. Do you like watching movies?
Not as much as I used to. I used to enjoy them a lot.
What about books?
Yeah, I definitely like books.
Tell us, what is your favorite book that has some relevance to being entrepreneur?
So there are many great business books out there, but the one that really had a big impact on me is called The Power of Habit. And it really dives into the science of how our brains form habits and how you can take control of that feedback loop. And I have found that to be huge for helping me with productivity, to just create great habits and routines in my life where I can be more productive and more efficient without it feeling so like it's such a difficult thing to do, because they just become habit.
If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
Oh, I don't know if I would invest that. I mean, I've been in those situations where I was down, and for me, it wasn't about investing the $100. It was more about investing as much time as I possibly could into, getting new clients or solving whatever, getting rid of the expenses that got me down to that point. So, I have definitely run into that.
Oh, thank you. If you had a little note in your pocket, what would that be?
It would be something with my family. I don't know what it would say. It'd probably be, something to remind me of why I'm doing everything. So it would be something about my kids, probably.
Do you feel like you succeeded or like you're only on the way?
Really both. I feel very grateful for, I have great health, I have great family, I'm happy with my business, but I do definitely feel like I'm just on the way.
Will you ever stop?
No, I have no desire to retire. To me, it's just fun. I always want to play the game. So my goal is to get to a point where it's not even about money at all. And it's just, I really see myself as doing something that's more like being a mentor when I get older, but I still want to be active and I still want to, play the game of business and engage with people.
As we come to the end of our interview, what additional wisdom would you like to share with our listeners?
So along the themes of, everything we've talked about here, it just depends on where someone's at in their journey. But, so I could think back to early struggles, because I tried a lot of things that failed along the way before I got to where I was. And one thing that kept me going was and someone had told me this. It was a piece of advice about, you really don't fail until you give up. So if this is something you really know you want to do, believe it or not, you see all these crazy success stories online. Most people who are successful in business, it doesn't happen with their first or second try. So what I would say is, if you're struggling and you're unsure, that you really haven't failed until you just totally check out of the game. So, if you keep going and you're continuing to improve and learn from all of the mistakes and the failures, then you will figure it out eventually.
Thank you. Remind us how we can connect with you.
Yeah, the best place is elevateandscale.com.
Kyle, it's been great to have you here to share your online success journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Remember, success is a journey. Don't wait. Let's start the journey. Patience and Kyle.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest and want you to know that there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on her website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast and are only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps us each chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on the favorite platform you have to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at Apple Podcasts and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share the journey. One last thing. If you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out our coaching sessions on how to set goals and double your productivity while you're at the website. Working with Patience is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.